It's been a long week. Where do I start? Good evening. Welcome back to the channel. I pretty much always start my videos like that, but today I want to take a little bit of time before departing to talk to you a little bit about flight sim, um, particularly prepared 3D. Um, it's not every day that um, I have to eat my words. And if you've been watching my channel for the last couple of flights, you would have seen me flying the FS Labs Airbus, the A319 to be precise. And this is, for the lack of a better word or better term, a controversial aircraft. Started with the malware that was placed in the installation to deter piracy. That didn't sit well with a lot of people in the community, myself included. So I opted not to get this and actually get the airsoft equivalent, the A318 through to the A321. Now, that was a few months ago, and eventually a good buddy of mine convinced me that I should actually get this aircraft. And I got the 320, and thanks to them, they gifted me the 319. So, you know who you are, you're watching this. Thank you very much, as always. Um, I must say, I am completely blown away. Before this aircraft, I thought the 748 was the most revolutionary aircraft in prepared 3D. Not only because of the um, icing, the bugs, the enhancements with the EFB and stuff like that. But this plane, this FS Labs plane, is in a whole category on its own. If you think, for example, the way that the wind affects the airplane, before the last update, PMDG 747 used to flap like a bird. Thankfully, that's been fixed, and it's actually quite nice to see with the wing flaps and stuff like that. But I've realized from flying the 738, the 777, the 747, the wind effects are only noticeable unless you're in like really, really right on the radar, really stormy conditions, or only if you're on final. With this aircraft, at all stages of the flight, you can find that the wind actually acts normal. It sways the aircraft from side to side, up and down, and it's not only noticeable on final, but it's noticeable all through the flight. Whether you're at the top of your descent, whether you're just taking off, it's a breath of fresh air, to be honest. Now, I'm not going to talk too much about it. I'm still learning the aircraft. There are a couple of things I want to point out to you. This aircraft is expensive. If you're someone that isn't going to fly an Airbus regularly, you want to fly it once in a while, you probably might not want to spend all this money just to get the A319. The A320 doesn't have the nice features like the ice buildup and stuff like that. Um, Only the A319 have it. It's supposed to go on to the 320 at some point, but when that is anyone's guess. Just to show you the level of realism in it. GSX is completely incorporated, by the way. So there's no more having to open doors, cargo hold, or anything like that. For any time that you request it in GSX, the plane automatically does it when it's time to do it. But to show you some of the level of realism in icing conditions, you could have just ignored GSX, don't de-ice, take off, and the aircraft would still fly. You can't make that mistake with this bird. It won't work. Um, you have to choose the correct type as well, from type 1 to type 4, with type 4 being the one that has the longest holdover. And holdover is basically the amount of time that you have after the anti-ice has been put on before it is no longer usable and you have to do it again. And it's also the only one that on takeoff, once you get a certain speed, it actually drops off the airplane, so it doesn't actually corrupt the airflow over the wings, because the wings in reality on its own, without anything on it, is designed for flight without any issues with early breakup of the airflow, stuff like that. But once something goes on the wing, this interrupts it and it can cause a lot of undesired flight characteristics. So once you get a certain speed, even the fluid that you put on the wings, that will affect the flight characteristic of the wing and as well as the aircraft by extension. So you want one that is definitely going to drop off once you hit a certain airspeed, and I think that's about 110 knots. I could be wrong, so don't hold me to that one, but it's in the region of that anyway. It's long before you actually lift off. The next thing is that if you look up here by the Adair's, um, if you want to do a comparison, you can do it in any order on the airsoft. Not with this aircraft. It will cause you a lot of faults, a lot of issues. I remember rushing flights just to get to the runway, and I just ran through everything, not paying attention to what's going on. I never had an issue. I made a mistake doing this with this aircraft a couple of days ago. I didn't wait to see if the flap was open for the APU, and I started the APU and all hell broke loose. I had to clear all the errors and then try to restart it. It wouldn't restart. Had to clear some more errors. Eventually I got it working. But this just goes to show the level of detail, attention to detail that's gone into this aircraft. Now, like I said, I'm not going to talk too much about it. This aircraft has been out for a while. It's just that it's new to me because I was of the stance I was never going to get to it. And I must say that I am pleasantly surprised, and I am happy that I did eventually get it. Suffice to say, I've uninstalled my Airsoft. There's nothing wrong with Airsoft, don't get me wrong. And there's nothing wrong with having FS Labs. It's to each their own. However, they're for different markets, and I'm not going to go into the bashing of Airsoft versus FS Labs. I've had enough of that to last me a lifetime. But what I'll say is that if you, I'm not even going to talk about study level, because that term is fodder. It means nothing. You can't. People talk about study level, meaning the amount of realism it goes into the aircraft. I say it has a high level of realism, but at the end of the day, this is a game, and you can hate me for calling it a game, but it is a game. You can't get a license based on this. You can't fly 2,000 hours in this and then go to the EASA or FAA and then say that you want to have a license because you have 1,000 hours experience on FS Labs. The same way you can't do it with Aerosoft. These are games. Whether you like to use that term or not, that's exactly what it is. Um, so study level, that means nothing to me. It is a higher level of detail. Um, One thing that I'm still trying to get used to is the taxiing, because the brakes are very, very sensitive. The rudder is not, but I'm getting accustomed to it, and I hope that even though that I've been quiet during the last few videos, that you've enjoyed them. Not trying to make up for that in this one by talking all over my face, but I just wanted to point that out. So, enough of my talk really. Let's get to it. We are at Miami. We are in the A319X by FS Labs, operated by American Airlines, and we are going to be flying to Toronto this afternoon. I've been unlucky in the sense that I've been trying to get some snow conditions or some rain, and at best this is what I've got. There are a few thunderstorms there, so it should be a little bit bumpy on takeoff. We're going to be taking off from runway 08 right, and I've also using, before I end, I'm also using some new software as well, TopCat, which I haven't used before, but I'm liking it, and it's also integrated with a Viasoft EFB. For people that aren't familiar with airports, the Viasoft is a godsend. It does a database on your sim, and it copies your airports. So basically, when it's navigating for taxiways, it gives you what is actually on your airport, not so much as what is on the actual real airport. So in a way, it's handy if you're on VATSIM and they tell you to do something, you realize, I don't have the airport that they're looking at. You can actually let ATC know, look, you don't have that scenery, and you can do an alternative. Obviously, it's up to them to allow it or not, but it's a good thing because you don't want to be navigating on a map that you don't have. It makes no sense really. The runway will be the same place it's supposed to be, but the taxiways will be all different, considering that Prepared has not been updated in terms of the airports since FSX days. But like I said, let's get to it. Let's get ready and let's have some fun flying. APU master on. We just wait to say that the flap is open, and then we'll start the APU. Flap open, APU start. You should be able to hear the APU spooling, and just now you see the smoke coming just like how it would from the engines when you're starting as well. And there's the smoke. APU bleed on. External power off. Closing doors. Okay, cockpit preparation completed. Signs are on. Fuel quantity is 21,420 pounds. Takeoff data, V1 is 141, VR is 141, and V2 is 142. Barrows is 1018. Windows and doors closed. Anti-skid and nose wheel steering, that is on. GSX will disable that on their own. Beacon on. Thrust levers idle. Parking brake, oh, come on, set. Perfect. Then mobile devices off. Okay, just gonna request pushback now from GSX. Move away the jetway. Let's move the chocks.
Good day, sir. I'm just waiting for some April traffic while the takes position. We're pushing back in a couple of minutes. Parking brake on, please. Lock in the gear. Tank is in position. Bypass pin is inserted. It's now clear, ready. Release parking brakes, please.
Parking brake release.
Clear behind. Commencing push. Engines clear. Start at your discretion.
At this point the PA becomes really loud, so if any of you guys out there have the FS labs and have an idea of how to actually lower it down, I really appreciate it.
Please arm your doors for departure, thank you.
Which is strange because usually it's much louder than this, but I'll take it.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, good afternoon, and a very warm welcome to your flight today. My name is Norman, and it's my pleasure to introduce the rest of the crew today. Working in front we have Philip, shortly in the middle is Marcus, and at the back of the cabin is Joe. We're here for your comfort, but primarily your safety. With that in mind, we'd like to take you through the safety procedures of this aircraft, an Airbus A319. It just takes 2 minutes of your time, but most importantly, your attention. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, we now ask
this
for your
one is
attention
one
while
that I
we take
can't
you through
stop.
the safety procedures on this aircraft.
It's ridiculously
A
loud.
safety card is in your seat pocket, showing the exit routes, oxygen masks, life jackets, and brace position that you must adopt if you hear brace, brace. There are 2 emergency exits. Floor lighting will guide you to an exit. Please be aware that your nearest exit may be behind you. In an emergency,
Alright, starting engine 2.
baggage on board. Your seatbelt is fastened, adjusted, and released as shown.
Ignition first.
It must be fastened when the seatbelt signs are on, and we recommend that you keep it fastened at all times. If the air supply fails, masks will drop from above you. Pull a mask towards you to start the oxygen. Pull the strap to adjust. Do not inflate it inside the aircraft. When outside, inflate by pulling the toggle. If it fails to inflate or needs topping up, blow into the tube. There is a light and whistle for attracting attention. We also carry flotation aids for children. Your tray table must now be stowed, armrest down, window blinds open, and seatbelt fastened. We wish you a pleasant flight.
Starting engine 1.
Unlocking the gear. Tank disconnected and cleared. Bypass pin is open. Left is clear, right is clear, disconnected now. Have a good flight. Bye-bye.
Flaps 1. Full left. Center. Full right. Center. Full up. Full down. Center. Rudders. Full right. Center. Full left. Center. Flight control check complete. So if I've done it right, the aircraft should steer. I'm hoping it is done right. We'll find out in a few seconds. She steers not as much as I would like, so I use the comma to bring her around. Excuse me for a second, my daughter wants to speak to me. Come, sweetie. As you can see, the brakes, the steering is really sensitive. This is without me doing much travel on the rudders. And this is idle thrust. See if we can make the steering here without using the comma. No, I cannot. Not before brakes. Here we go. Whoa. It's like me learning how to drive from day one all over again. See if this helps now. Yeah, that's better. Slightly. But slight tap on the brakes, and the plane wants to pretty much stop on a dime. Surprised I'm not seeing any weather on this radar. Now I have active sky on another computer. Let me just slow down a bit. Whoa. But I didn't think that would be an issue showing up weather. Maybe it is. I definitely need taxi and practice with this thing. That's the only negative that I can find on this aircraft so far. The brakes are too sensitive, the steering is too sensitive, or not sensitive enough, depending on how you look at it. And to really get around like sharp corners, you need to use the comma. Otherwise the plane just won't go around. You guys are gonna have some fun watching me doing my takeoff roll. before takeoff checklist. Flight controls checked. Flap setting configuration 1 plus F. Briefing and performance confirmed. ECAM memo status. No blue. TCAS. TARA. Auto brake mats. Signs are on. Spoilers armed. Flaps for takeoff. Takeoff configuration arm. And we are ready to go.
Approaching 08 right. On runway 08 right.
Here we go. Knots.
V1.
There we go. Positive rate. Gear up. Feet. Climb.
The cabin. Remember that smoking is not permitted at any time. This includes e-cigarettes. In just a few moments, we'll...
Flaps up. And I've got a stick. This aircraft is heavy on performance, so I'm gonna have to adjust my settings now. Be over 10,000 feet. And then it's off. Smooth as well, so seatbelts off. After takeoff checklist, landing gear up, flaps up. After takeoff checklist complete. That's pretty much it, guys. We're on our way to Canada, and we should be there in about just an hour and 45 minutes or so. 1,063 miles to go. Thank you guys for watching, and hope you enjoyed it as much as I did, even though that my taxiing was with the grace of a newborn calf. I will get better, there's no doubt about that. I just need getting used to the aircraft, and practice makes perfect. I should have dimmed these lights earlier. But anyhow, take care, catch you when I catch you, and see ya.